Hello Year 3, it's Mr. Howell back with another maths video for you. We're going to move on to today's lesson shortly, but the first thing I wanted to do was to revisit the challenges that I set you last week, which were 3 clock faces. Now, they had the hands, but they didn't have any numbers or any markings on, and one of them was a little bit of a tricky one and didn't give you as much information as perhaps you would like. And I told you it wasn't as it seemed. So we're going to have a look at those answers. The answer for A was 10 past 10. Now I am feeling generous, so I will give you a few minutes either side. But that was the answer to A. For B, by my rough calculations, I would say it's approximately 3:54. And the last one was in water. So you saw the reflection of the time that was 6:55, and I will be giving some head teachers awards out for those of you that got that correct. Well done. Moving on to today's lesson then, we're going to continue with our time, and we're going to look at measuring time in hours. And this time what we're looking at is using a timeline to help us to answer some questions about time that's already gone past. So we're going to be looking at working out time backwards, if you like, and going back in time to work out the time in hours. So Sarah is on a trip today, and you can see that on her day out so far she's seen a variety of strange and wonderful creatures. And at the moment, there she is, she's enjoying looking at a monkey and a bird. However, she's been here for 5 hours already. What time did she get here? So, I wonder whether you've been able to have some time to think about what time she got here if she has been here for 5 hours already. And we're going to use a timeline, but we're going to use our timeline slightly differently. So if we go over here to our timeline, you can see that the timeline looks pretty much the same as it has done for our other questions. We've got a time written on it, and we've got our arrow. Now time, we always represent time as going from left to right, with the furthest point away on the left hand side and then the most recent time away on the right. And that's represented here by this arrow as showing time going forward. Now we're looking here at what time Sarah arrived, and we know that she is still here at 4:20, but she has been here for 5 hours, and we're trying to work out the start point over here. But all we know at the moment is the end time. So what do we need to do to work out 5 hours ago all the way back here? Well, first thing I need to do is I'm going to have to put some extra lines in to show my jumps. But how many of them am I going to put in? It's as if I can hear you shouting at the screen. I think you've said 5. Let's put 5 in. And see whether or not that works. So you can see here that now we have got these lines in place, and hopefully that will help us to work out the answer to this question. So we've got our starting point, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and hopefully you can see that a little bit clearer there. So here we're jumping in what amount of jumps? Perfect, we're jumping in 1 hour jump. So each of these jumps is going to be 1 hour. Now, remember yesterday when I said about the minutes and looking about what number is going to be written here? If we're jumping an hour, what's going to happen to our minutes? If you said that they're not going to change because there are 60 minutes in an hour, and therefore the clock face, the minute hand, would have rotated back to the same place, you would have been correct. So I can put 20 minutes in this part because I'm just jumping in a 1 hour time slot. So what is going to be my number of hours? If this is 4:20 and I'm jumping an hour, what's the answer going to be? Careful, remember we're going backwards in time. We're going back, so it's not going to be 5, it's going to be 3. So that's an important thing for you to think about, and remember that if we're working backwards, if we're trying to work out a start time, we need to make sure that the time is getting less, or that it's going further back in time. So we've gone from 4:20 to 3:20. This jump's going to be the same time period. We're jumping an hour, and we know already that the minutes is not going to change. So this must be 2. Fantastic. Can you see, if you can now, wait for my pen to stop rolling. Can you see if you can now use this to help you to work out what the answer is going to be and what time we're going to have, if I can hold the screen up high enough for you to work out what time it is that she arrived. So this is what my finished timeline looks like, and I wonder if yours looks the same or very similar. I'm just going to show and see if we've got this correct, because remember it was 5 hours that she'd been there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So I've got my 5 hour jumps, but now I need to check that this is 5 hours back. So 3, 2, 1, 12 and then 11. So I'm happy that my answer is 11:20. Let's just have a look at this jump here, because this seems a little bit strange, doesn't it? We've gone from 4 down to 3, down to 2, down to 1, but then from 1 we've gone to 12. Why might we have done that, do you think? Why have we jumped from 1 to 12? Let's have a look at the clock face and see if this helps us. So we've started at 4, we've gone from 3 to 2 to 1, and that's right, the next hour is going to be 12. So presumably she's visiting in the middle of the day and not the middle of the night, so this will be 12 o'clock midday. And 1 hour less than that then, which is our last jump, is 11, and our hours haven't changed. So the answer is 20 past 11. What I wanted to do, year 3, was just show you this again using a clock face to show those jumps. Now I am doing this one-handed whilst trying to hold a camera on a handle, so please bear with me if this doesn't work. It may be utterly disastrous yet completely hilarious at the same time, so please bear with me. So this is 20 past 4. This is my starting point. If I then jump back an hour, that's going to be roughly 1 hour. So that's 3:20. If I jump back a second hour, come on, that'll do it. That's 2:20. If I jump back a third hour, and that's 1:20. Now notice that each of these jumps, my minute hand, this one wriggling in the bottom right hand corner, is the one that is moving, the one that's going back, because my hours is the one that's changing, not my minutes. I'm gonna have to leave it there. Oh, that's gone wrong. Here we've jumped back 4 hours now. We've got 1 hour left to go, which I'm very grateful for, because I don't think this is gonna work very well. And roughly that'll do. And that is 5 hours, and the time is 11:20. So that does indeed show with great difficulty on my part that 5 hours backwards, 5 hours ago from 4:20 is 11:20. Now I would show you this from this point. I'd jump 5 hours forward to show you that the answer is correct. However, I'm not going to lie, I'm about to drop the camera, so I'm not going to do that. And my arm has now recovered. On to the guided practice question for today then. We've got 3 characters, and each of these characters has been at the beach for a different amount of time. And these 3 characters are going to tell you how long they've been at the beach. This is the time now. So the time is on the clock now that you can see. Now I'm not going to tell you deliberately what the time is. I want you to work out the time. That's going to be one of your tasks for your guided practice, is to see if you can work that time out on your own before we go through it. And then we're going to see if we can work out how long each of these characters has been at the beach. And as if by magic, here they are. So our top character has been at the beach for 1 hour. He looks happy, doesn't he? Our second character has been at the beach for 3 hours. Less happy, more sinister, would you say, maybe? Oh, I suppose they are happy. And this character has been at the beach for 4 hours. Not so happy. Okay, so here is the time now. That's the time that they are at the moment. This character has been at the beach already for 1 hour, 3 hours, and 4 hours. Can you work out how long each of them has been at the beach for? Hopefully you've had a chance to pause the video and have a look at answering that question. Now, I promise you that there is absolutely no expense spared in the special effects of these videos. So, here is the answers. Ta-da! There we go. Not as dramatic as I was hoping it would be. And if we have a look at this timeline, I've drawn the timeline, and I was able to use the same method from earlier. I worked out the start time as 3:45. So 3 was my number of hours because it's not at the 4 yet. And then here, if I go across, it's on the 9. Now this clock's quite helpful because it's got 45 on there. But again, I could count in my 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So it's 45 minutes. So I was able to work out my end time, which was the starting point for this calculation of counting backwards. So I could then go backwards 1 hour, another hour, another hour, and another one to get 4 hours in total, because that was the maximum number of hours that I needed to go backwards in time. And I was able to work out that this character, who'd been there for an hour, had been there from 2:45. This character here had been there for 3 hours, so would have been there from 12:45. And then lastly, this character would have been here from 11:45, because that's the last hour. Now, I have missed one part off of this timeline as a bit of a challenge for you. Are you able to tell me, whilst I find the correct coloured pen, what I've missed off of this timeline that was on our timeline from earlier on? And if I show you the coloured pen as a clue, does that help you to answer the question? I've forgotten an arrow here to show that that's the direction of time that we're representing, so that time is moving along in that direction. So that's an important part to remember, to include that arrow, because when you're working out these questions, we want to make sure that we get this number in the correct place. If we were saying that they just arrived at 3:45 and they were going to stay there for longer, then obviously our time is going to move forwards. But the question here was asking you to think about how long they had been there and therefore what time they had arrived. So this needed to be our end time here, nearest our arrow. Onto your task then, year 3. So we're going to be doing some tasks that link to the timeline and working out time going backwards. So looking at a duration of time that's already gone past. And those tasks are going to be on Teams today. If you need to ask any questions or if you need to send any work in and you can't upload it to Teams for any reason, you have got our email address here of year3@ssjs.co.uk. You can, of course, email those to us. Good luck with your questions for today. There aren't any challenges for you today, but what I would like you to do is to go on to TT Rockstars and practice your times tables on there for us. Good luck, year 3.